Hi, I'm Stuart from the Norfolk Honey Company and welcome back to another of our Maisemore apiary sponsored videos for 2017. Today we've come back to the apiary at our local university where we have a fabulous apiary site, and a few weeks ago we transferred a nucleus colony into one of the Maisemore commercial polyhives that Jonathan and the guys at Maisemore Apiaries have given us to try out for this season and through the winter. It's late season now and the bees have just about run out of all of the main foraging crops until they hit the very late autumn ivy, but now it's the time to just check up on the colonies and make sure that they're fully functioning, that they're queen right, that they're packing away whatever stores they've got. We're in the process of removing supers and extracting, but for the polyhives we just need to make sure that they're drawing out all of the comb and that the bees are storing all of the sugar syrup that we're giving them in preparation for the winter. It's another blustery day today. We've had a few showers and you can probably tell that it's quite windy, and so we're not going to take too long in the hive today. But we just want to check the feeder and make sure that the colony is queen right. So we'll get the smoker lit and head down to the hive. So for those of you that haven't seen the polyhive before, this is one of the hives that we've been given by Maisemore Apiaries to try out and test. It comes as a complete hive. So what we've got here is the floor on the bottom with an integrated landing board, and the footprint, the area that this occupies, is around 50 centimetres square. So it's a little bit bigger than the national and commercial hives that I use, which are around 460 to 465 millimetres square. So this being 500 mil square, sits a little bit proud on the stands that I've got, but they certainly fit without any problem at all. Then we've got the yellow entrance block and the brood body itself, which is this large box at the bottom, and this is a commercial size box, so it takes the commercial size frames. And then here we've got a feeder as well, and then the roof is on top of the feeder. So we're going to open it up and just have a look inside the feeder to see if they've taken all the food stores down, whether we need to top it up, and then we'll have a look through the brood box and see how the bees are getting on. So we'll give them a little bit of smoke just under the floor, and that will go up through the open mesh floor. We've taken the Varroa board out of this floor because we're not testing at the moment for Varroa, and that allows for ventilation. So that it comes complete with the green strap as well. So you can take the roof off and lay it out the front, and I've left the queen excluder with the hive because if I take it away I'm bound to lose it. So then we've got the cover board, which is this clear plastic polycarbonate sheet, and the bees have taken all of the feed that was in here, so I think we're probably going to need to top that up. So I'll just actually leave that on top of the feeder. The bees are up and in the feeder itself, so we can see the bees along the entire length of the feed hole in the center there, so that's good. I'll just get a hive tool and one of my concerns with the polystyrene hives is once the bees propolize them all together, how difficult is it going to be to actually pop the different component parts apart without damaging the edges, but that seems to have come apart fairly well, so I'm quite happy with that. I'm just checking the underside just to make sure that the queen isn't present beneath that, so we'll pop that down on the roof at the front of the hive, and then we can have a look to see how the bees have done. And it is quite showery today, so we won't take too long. They've certainly propolized the frames up nicely together. So we've got a frame of foundation that they started to work on here, and I suspect they've just run out of food, and I really should have come down sooner and put some more food on them. And yeah, so here they're drawing this frame out. They've started on one side, and on this second side it's been pulled a little bit, but not too much, and they just need more food. Nectar has pretty much dried up around our local area now. Supers need to come off and be extracted, and we've got some bees milling around on here, and actually they've got little white stripes. I don't know whether the camera can pick it up, but the bee that I'm looking at here has got a tiny little white stripe down its thorax, and that's a sign that the bees are actually foraging on Himalayan balsam, which is an invasive species locally to us, and not one that we would encourage in terms of growing plants, but it's something that the bees do find irresistible because it gives plenty of pollen at this time of the year. So it might be that there is some Himalayan balsam locally. So this is one of the old frames, and the bees are still working on this, and we've got eggs and larvae in the frames. Having used petroleum jelly or Vaseline on the runners at the side, it means that the runners are still sliding quite freely along the polystyrene. The brood box has an integrated runner, so it's a polystyrene runner, which again initially I thought that I might have problems with, but to be honest it's been fine. This nuke has got a little bit of chalk brood, nothing too serious. I have found that there's been a reasonable amount of chalk brood in some colonies this summer, and it's been fairly dry, so it would appear that some of the colonies have been quite susceptible to the problem of chalk brood. So again, looking through here, just one or two cells of chalk brood, but generally there are eggs and larvae in most of these cells, which is good news. And despite it being fairly showery, these bees have been fairly calm through the inspection. This is still pretty much a nucleus sized colony. They're growing quite nicely, but it's going to be a long haul for them, and I can see several more cells of chalk brood, so I think that these are going to be a colony that will definitely need to be requeened at some point. And we have got plenty of queens that we've produced, so we'll probably look over the next few weeks to requeen this colony and get a new queen established before we go into the autumn proper. Now the bees are actually putting quite a lot of propolis down the side of the frames at the front near the entrance, and that's sticking it to the side wall of the brood box, but it's not a major problem. Here we've got our queen, which is unfortunate that she's got this chalk brood problem, because she actually looks like quite a nice queen, so it's quite disappointing really that we're going to have to replace her. But we want fit and healthy colonies, so we really need to get on with that and not delay the inevitable. And then on to these final 3 frames, and the bees are working them well and packing them full of stores, so that's good news. And these last 2, one of them is being worked. The one on the outside is not being worked as yet, So what I intend to do is to top up the feed, and hopefully they'll move through and onto the additional frames. I'll place a link on the video and in the description below for all of the equipment that we've got here, the poly hives. There'll be a link through and some details about the Maisemore apiaries online site and contact telephone numbers, and if you do give them a call, please do mention that you saw their hive on my YouTube channel. And we'll just scrape off some of this wax on the top just to clean up the tops of the frames. That's good. Okay, so that's a fairly quick inspection, nothing too disastrous. One of the problems I have had is trapping bees underneath the edge of the boxes, but that happens with wooden hives as well, so I can't really say that it's a problem specifically for the poly hive. So we get the feeder back on, and I'll just top up the feeder, and currently I'm using 1:1 sugar syrup, but as the weather cools down we'll switch to a heavy syrup. And I'll just move that across, and then I can place some in the front section as well. And the bees now can get stuck into that sugar syrup, and that will help produce more wax, and hopefully they'll draw out the rest of those frames in a short space of time. Okay, and then finally we get the roof back on. And so the strap is really useful just for holding the roof on and keeping it all together, especially in very windy conditions like we've got today. So there we go, that's another inspection completed with this hive. So another successful inspection there. That poly hive is looking really well. The bees are taking down syrup, and obviously topping it up is going to help greatly in keeping the wax production going and drawing out the remainder of those frames. If you've not yet subscribed, please do consider subscribing. Hit the little symbol down in the bottom corner there, and you'll see a little bell symbol. If you click that, then you'll get an alert every time we upload another video. Don't forget to check out our Facebook group, which is Stuart's Beekeeping Basics, and we've got lots of people in there helping with helpful tips and advice, general techniques, that kind of thing. And we're also on Instagram and Twitter, and you can catch all of the various addresses down below in the description. My thanks to everyone that's signed up on Patreon. That's where you can join in with a more in-depth conversation and also help us in producing these videos. And finally, my thanks to Jonathan and the team at Maisemore Apiaries for supplying all of this fantastic equipment for us to try out through this season and through into the winter. I'm looking forward to seeing how they compare with our wooden hives, and particularly seeing how the bees expand early in the season and see whether these polystyrene hives give them the edge over the colonies that are in the wooden hives. So we'll look forward to testing out all of that, but until next time, thanks for watching.